So take us through your I know dissertation-wise, take us through your finding and about gameplay, game-based learning, gamification, whichever the terminology we choose to use. What have you taken from that, and how are you then embedding this into your school and spreading the word about this then so that more educators can learn about it?
Yeah, so funny story. When I first started my doctoral program, we were required to take this class on gaming. And I remember saying such silly things as like, gaming, what? What does that have to do with serious education? What is this nonsense about fun and game and play? Like, I remember saying that actually in a class, and my professor, Dr. Chan, he was so patient and so cool. He was like, you will see, you will learn. And he ended up being one of my dissertation committee members, right? So, again, I think I stumbled upon it, and as I learned about what games do and game principles and importance of play, as you encourage your students to love learning, that was so impressive. And what gamers do really well is they fail forward very well, right? Because if you think about how you're playing games, you have to negotiate rules, you have to negotiate the socialization within a game, and also you experience failure in a productive manner, and you just keep having to iterate to get to whatever the goals that you think you set within the game system, as well as the experience of gaming. So I absolutely think that game-based learning is going to become more and more important as we automate and leverage more extended cognition through AI in the classroom and other types of technology that can allow some of the executive function or cognitive load to be lowered and bring more humanity into our learning interactions.
Yeah, I completely love what you're saying there about it in terms of about the cognitive load of things. I see that a lot of students now, British curriculum, American curriculum, it's the pressure, it's the get the grades, get the GPAs, get to the universities and the how we're not talking enough about the how we're achieving that and the level of learning that can take place and different types of learning that can take place. And I'm fascinated by game-based learning, and I've tried it a few times, and I think most educators out there, I'm kind of speaking for all of them, it's the challenge is, well, how do I go about making a game-based lesson? So if you were to give some advice, if you were to give like your top 5 points, if you were watching someone and someone said to you, right, I want to make a game-based lesson, I don't really know where to start. What would you say to that?
Yeah, that's a great question. Number one, you have to allow your students to be the creator. I think some of the errors I see or misperceptions about game-based learning, and I prefer that term over gamification, because I've seen game-based learning go terribly wrong because the teachers think that using Kahoot is like game-based learning, and it's basically substitution, right? You're doing a multiple choice test on a screen with some music and options, and the students are kind of doing a little bit of interaction. That really isn't the idea of game-based learning. For me, students have to become the driver of the creating the games, right? And students are naturally encouraged to negotiate the rules and limitations if they are allowed to be the creators. And there is this ease of sort of understanding the natural tendency for our students to have some sort of satisfaction from being in a competition, and you need to sort of redirect that. Because as you are creating and iterating the games, and as you allow them to productively fail, you can still satisfy their need to be competitive that is detached from simple outcome. So we talk a lot about like a standardized test is not a best measure of student learning. It is a measure. It can measure something, but it should not be the measure, right? So you have to create an environment where students are in charge of their own learning. So I don't know that there are 5 things that you asked that I just gave to you, but honestly, there are hopefully within what I just said, there are many components that you can draw from. That always think about in creating an environment for students to be in charge.
Yeah, I think that's always the challenge part. And I think there's so much more to explore with it as well for educators to get into it. And I think there are now, and we're going to dive into this, I think there's now more technology available to assist teachers in doing that.